Morning, Mayor.
Good morning, Joe.
How are you this fine Tuesday morning?
It's a beautiful morning.
It is indeed, and if all of winter would stay like this, I think you'd be very happy.
Certainly would work for the budget.
Speaking of, let's talk about the property tax rates that were set last night by the City Council. The rates went down.
Yes, values have gone up and rates have gone down. And we tried very hard, and we did succeed with the council vote, and that was to use some of our surplus and free cash to buy down the tax bill for people. And, when you look around communities, Massachusetts will be one of the lowest increases around. So I appreciate the council's work on it. It can be complicated when you get into the factors and the classification and the shift in the values, and it's not an easy thing. I congratulate Colleen Haley and her staff for the incredible work they do in preparation for it. The state has to approve all of our numbers first. Of course, Eric Mason, our Chief Financial Officer, does a great job, as does my Chief of Staff, Chris Walker, on all these financial items. So it's, I mean, no one likes to pay taxes, Joe, and I get it. But at the same time, when you're paying a little bit more in taxes and your values are going up, for most people, their home is the biggest investment. So an increase in your investment year after year is a damn good thing. And so I know that has a two-sided coin. The other side is that those trying to break into the market, it's more challenging. And I've got 3 adult children that remind me of that all the time. So anyways, it's the old saying, it's like making sausage, sometimes doing these things, getting through the process. But I'm pleased we got it done. And I always say, and I've said it in this program a number of times, that is, we fall right in the middle on tax liability, if you will, on tax burden, but we're right at the top with services. And I don't care what you compare, whether it's libraries, senior services, response time for 911, school programs, parks and playgrounds. I could go on and on, Joe. But the point is, the people of the city get excellent service, and it costs money to do that.
There were some questions, concerns raised about draining down the stabilization fund. Does that concern you?
No, it doesn't. I mean, this is the taxpayers' money. We try to strike that balance of keeping a reserve, as well as providing the service, as I said, as well as providing a bill that's manageable for people. Now, we also, during the pandemic, we used some reserves, and we cut major budget cuts, and we suppressed the tax rate for a couple of years because of the unknown and unforeseen. So we're still in a place where that's going to catch up to us a little bit, So as we go forward, I got to be mindful of that on some of the areas that we still have to continue to address. But we're in good shape financially, and that's not, take my words, but you can take the words of our outside bond counsel and rating agencies.
I know, of course, during the pandemic, revenues from things like the hotel motel tax, even excise taxes went down. Have those rebounded?
They have indeed. Yes, we're in good place now as far as revenues exceeding projections. So, yes, the hotels are back and doing well, as well as the excise tax.
And just looking at the numbers, so the average residential tax bill will go up by about $195 next year. Is that right?
This year.
This
yes.
year. This fiscal year, right? Yeah.
This fiscal year, correct. And how it works in every city and town is we actually set the rate in the middle of the fiscal year, so the increase is born on 2 quarters rather than 4 quarters.
Right.
It's just the way the system is. So the final 2 quarters of fiscal 23 will go up to pick up that difference.
Would you say commercial development, Mayor, has helped to offset some of the residential tax increases?
I think it has helped. I think one of the challenges is that the values of the single-family home continue to go up dramatically. So the shift in that area is a problem for creating stabilizing the tax rate for the average single-family home. So it's challenging. I do think the commercial stuff is in a good place. We're better than we were a couple of years ago. So I think that's only going to grow, which will help offset future value increases.
It's I'm sure you hear it all the time. All this development going on. Why do my taxes keep going up?
Well, first of all, local government is funded on going up on the taxes every year. That's the state law. What I like to point out to people is that, yeah, the taxes go up, but they don't go up nearly as much as many other communities. In fact, we do not tax to the max. Since I've been in office, we've left $400 million on the levy that we could have taxed and we did not. We have a lot of communities that have to do Prop 2.5 overrides to get seawalls, to build schools, and we do not do that. Because of the development, it's made us extremely healthy and provides incredible services. And as I said, you can talk about teacher pupil ratios. We can talk about response times and 911. In all those areas, we're second to none in communities, yet we're way down on what the tax number is for the average person compared to other communities. So, Newton went up almost $800 in the average single family this year. I suspect Braintree is going to be a big number. And so, it's all relevant. I understand what people say, but if we didn't have this development, the budget would be smaller, response times would not be as good, our teacher pupil ratio would not be as good, our parks would not look as nice. So there is a cost in providing those services, a safe, clean community with all that goes with it.
Are you seeing the savings that you'd hoped for by funding the pension bond obligation?
Well, as we predicted, the first 2 years are going to be a hit because all our bonded debt goes up because of that. But after next year, then it flattens out going forward. So the savings is over the 18 years. It's not in year one.
Okay.
Each and every year going forward, if we had not done this, then it would go up dramatically. The actual budget number to provide for the pension increases. That's the law. They send us a bill, and we got to pay the bill. So by doing what we did, it stabilizes it and flattens it out over the next 18 years.
Good. Can we talk a little bit, Mayor, about a ceremony held on Sunday afternoon at the General's Park and Bridge, a tree lighting ceremony?
Yes, and I know there are tree lighting ceremonies all across the city. All the neighborhoods, rightfully so, take pride in their neighborhood with the tree lighting. Brings people together in a good way. And what we started last year at the General's Park and Bridge area was doing a tree specifically for those currently serving. So we invited families for those currently serving, as best we could through the press and through social media, because there's no list somewhere that I can acquire that tells me what kids are serving. It just doesn't exist. So we work with what we have in getting the word out to our veterans groups, and we dedicate the tree to those currently serving. So family members come down, fill out a ribbon for the name of their loved one. We put it on the tree. We got a couple of beautiful songs sung. Of course, the national anthem being one of them. So we had General Dunford there. General Dunford, as you know, is one of the generals we honored in that park, the highest-ranking military officer from Quincy. He spoke to the families and spoke about, in his 40 years, he missed 10 Christmases with his family, being deployed around the world. So I thought it was nice for the families to hear from him and how important that act, what we did, meant to them. And as he said, these young people who are serving all across the world will see that on social media and probably bring a smile to their face that we're thinking of them.
And it's not too late, right? If folks have a name they'd like to add, they should get in touch with the Parks Department?
That's correct. Yeah. We do have extra ribbons and markers, and we leave it open. And again, it's to those currently serving. And you might know of a neighbor or somebody. Feel free to check in with the Park and Rec departments. Yes.
Sure. And of course, tomorrow we honor those who served during World War II, specifically those who perished on Pearl Harbor.
Yes, as the president said at the time, a day that we'll live in infamy, December 7th, 1941, which brought us into the World War. at the time, as you know, the Axis powers was Nazi Germany and Japan. Japan was taking over the Pacific. Well, Germany was taking over continental Europe and going into other parts of that continent over to Asia. It was a horrific time in mankind's history, but through that act at Pearl Harbor, young men and women of this country lined up in recruiting stations and literally won the war for freedom for mankind by what they did, what they sacrificed. So we should always remember that. I know that we're in the midst of all this cancel culture and what does history mean, and boy, oh boy, if we don't recall our history and take a moment to remember those that sacrificed for us, we're in trouble. So it is a big day in our nation's history, and we should honor that.
10 a.m. tomorrow at Mount Wollaston Cemetery, right at the World War II monument. There'll be a ceremony. Of course, it's open to the public.
Correct.
Might be a little damp, but it won't dampen the event, I'm sure.
That's right.
Mayor, we have a little bit of time. Could you tell me a little bit about an agreement the city has reached with the Massachusetts tribe regarding honoring Native Americans?
Yeah, actually, it's the Neponset Band of the Massachusetts tribe, who whose lands were Quincy and West, going back to before the colonial settlement here. They walked this area, they farmed it, they fished it. It was a very important place for them. So we reconnected with them in the whole celebration of Quincy 400. We reconnected, and I signed a letter of intent to work with them to reclaim their history, to give them a permanent location that they can meet and celebrate that history, and a number of other items. We're going to do some things in our school curriculum to let people know. Some kids you hear about some of the big tribes across the country, but those that walk the lands that we walk today are still with us, and we should really be talking about that history. So it's a good relationship and partnership we're building. I look forward to continue to work with them.
As I understand, the Squantum Early Learning Center is part of that agreement?
Yes, one of the buildings at Squaw Rock, they'll be moving on at some point. We intend to turn over to this group, and Squaw Rock to them was one of the 3 sacred lands in Quincy. It was that, the Hummock, and Broad Meadows, which is now Passamaquoddy. It's all good stuff.
Always appreciate the opportunity, Mayor. I wish you a wonderful day.
You also. Thanks, Joe.
Yep, bye-bye.